Want to welcome everybody here. My name's Rick Hughes. I'm the board president for another day. And we'll introduce, we have Scott Gillen, Greg Collins, Elisa Oliger is our financial person.
There you go.
Paige Coleman is our general manager. Gary Frisbee's our owner relations liaison. Andy Loudermilk, Stacy Lanius, Mark Feliza, and John Needling. So we want to welcome everybody here. We are glad that you chose Tamarron. And why don't you guys go ahead and just introduce your names and what your unit number is?
Doug and Alicia Marizzi, we're at 832 Pinecone. We've owned for a couple of years, but this is the first time we've been to up here in this area.
Oh, good. Welcome.
My name is Drew. It's 314. And first time I actually bought anything. So thank you.
But you bought, but you might want to correct yourself. It's 312.
312. Yeah. Thank you, Gary.
You got to know those things.
I do. I get the address and the number mixed up because they're so close. 312 or 314. I'll get it right eventually.
Well, you hit the jackpot on your first buy.
Yeah, I think I did a pretty good job. I've been looking for a while here. I actually live down the road. Everyone's probably driven by the place that I work at the moment. It's the one that was the golf course and now has the pond, and there's a house up on the hill being built. It's off the side of 550. So I work there for a gentleman named Michael Blestry, and I've been building that new house and remodeling it and doing some other projects in the area. So I do construction, that kind of thing.
Rick, can you tell us where you're from?
Yeah, I'd like to hear that too. If you have a home elsewhere.
We're from Dallas, Texas.
That's why you wanted to hear it. That's the only reason.
I'm from Virginia. Virginia originally, yeah.
We're at half Dallas.
I'm Phil Ward, unit 626. I lived in Albuquerque for 47 years. Now I'm back and forth between Fountain Hills, Arizona.
Nice.
Welcome. Carolyn Mulder, unit 334 and Drain.
Scott, my wife and I bought 710 Arch. We lived in Arizona for 23 years, but we moved to Minneapolis in January.
Minneapolis in January.
Last Arizona. We're doing it. Well, we would like to welcome all of you guys. Give you a brief history and if anybody, if I get anything wrong, you guys feel free to jump in and correct me. The property first started in the idea was in the early 70s, and then the early to mid 70s when they first built Tamarron here. It was built by a man named Stan Wadsworth. Him and his brother bought the property, then they bought a sister property and developed in Tampa, Florida, which has been, I'd say, more successful in any golfers would know, Innisbrook in Tampa area. They play the Valspar tournament there. But anyway, they were sister developments at the same time. And when it originally started, like when they had board meetings, they would switch. They'd come here, the board here would go there. That's long since changed. But anyway, it was from what I understand, a 5-star resort here when it first started. And if ever anybody's ever seen the movie Avalanche, or you want to watch it, probably the worst movie ever made. But for people here at Tamarron, it's great because you get to see what used to be here down where the fitness center area is. There used to be a huge restaurant, a huge bar, I'm told was just fantastic. And great big fireplace, everything. And you see that in the movie.
Old event center.
Yeah.
Ballroom.
And this is Joe Carey, he's our treasurer. And when the property first started, they sold the units to owners. Owners could only stay in their unit for 30 days out of the year. They had to be available for rentals. And that was okay because the lodge here stayed rented 90% of the year. In the outlying clusters was usually 80 to 85% of the year. They were occupied, so it was a good money-making investment type of situation. Over the years, it changed. It was bought by Sheraton. Also not bought. Oh. Partnered with, okay, Sheraton and also who else? Hilton. Okay.
Before Sheriff. But those were marketing agreements, those weren't purchases.
Okay. And, you know, and over the years, it's now evolved to where it's a, you know, kind of combination, residential investment, second home community. There's approximately 325 owners now. Just under 400 units total. Approximately 125 in the rental program. And around 61, 62 full-time residents. Maybe
Clarify, there's not 100, we don't have a rental program, there's 125 people.
Yeah,
rent their
the
unit
rent,
now.
yeah,
Most of them through, what do they
BRC.
call it now? VR vacation rental.
VRC, vacation.
I think they have about 75 or 80 and the rest are individual managers, whatever the case.
We do have people who do.
yeah, and
Is that, I'm sorry, is that short-term and long-term?
yes.
125.
Combined.
Okay.
Yes. And so it's really, it's been a great place to live. I've owned here for 12 years. I'm usually here. It'll be about 6 months here, 6 months. I'm from Oklahoma City. I'll be back there. Last year I spent 8 months here in Colorado. Just a lot of stuff we had going on. And a lot, see, nobody's full-time. Everybody on the board is part-time. Most of them are from Texas. One from Oklahoma, a
Arizona.
couple from Arizona. So.
Please feel free to have some coffee.
That's pretty much what I feel. You guys.
One thing you might want to talk about is the amenity center, how that is structured. So it's part of the building, but it's not something we own. That might.
Yeah. In the movie in Avalanche, if you watch the whole thing, you'll see there used to be a pool down at the end, and it was a pool where it was half indoor, half outdoor. It was really neat. Got to a point where there was an inspection, there's found to be a leak. And we, at the point where Glacier came into being, they had bought that end of the building. And so they owned what was then the fitness center, the pool, all that. And we had a lease agreement with them. So when they found there was a leak and they thought there might be some structural issues, Glacier decided they would tear down that end of the building and build an amenity center. And primarily Joe did an excellent job negotiating an agreement with Glacier for us. And what that agreement was we had a couple different levels of memberships to the club that we could get. Prior to that, unless you were a member of the club back there, you didn't have access to the golf course. So in the new agreement, which was a 30-year agreement, they sold 2 levels of taco memberships. And one's a social membership where you have access to the facilities, and golf is on a pay-by-play basis. The other is a full membership, and difference was about $50, I think, originally. And what it did is, the full membership is, unlimited golf, you just pay for a card every time. So, you know, that was a great deal for us and also for Glacier. Taco Tamron is an impact to Glacier of about $1.3 million a year. All told, I think there's almost 300 total Taco members.
260, okay.
Yeah, and around 50 now, I would say, full members. So we have access to all that. We have still, that's in 23, so we have 24 more years left on our agreement.
Actually 35 years.
Is-
Started in
Okay.
2017, so it's about 30 left.
Oh, okay, I thought it was 30. And another part of that is, that new restaurant, Prospector Hall, that used to just be a meeting room. And we also had an agreement with them that for our owners meeting every year, we get that space for 2 hours. So, it's a good deal. Over the next year, we'll work out some audio visual issues in that there used to be a big screen, and now if any of you have been in there, it's all brown in there. And so we may or may not have something that you may or may not be able to see tomorrow.
We're going back to old school tomorrow. We're going back to the
Paper handouts,
paper handouts because we don't have any audio visual aids.
but you'll still get all the information. So,
Yes, yeah, I just would mention, I think a lot of people buy here and it's very, you know, the overall property that called Taco, called Tamron, and of course Glacier Brook, it's very, very large. It's a large piece of land. We own next to none of the land. Some people don't understand. We own about.
It's about 700 acres total, 800 acres total, and we own about what, Gary, 25?
25, 27.
Yeah.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
for instance, behind this building, right outside of us, we own 5 feet, you know, before the canyon. So, you know, I think sometimes people buy here thinking, well, before golf was made available again through the agreement that Rick referred to, people would buy here thinking, well, it's a golf course, of course I can play. Well, golf course doesn't belong to us. It belongs to them, the whole south end of the lodge, which has now been fortunately destroyed and replaced by brand new facilities that you now see. That didn't belong to us. So, you know, we had as was mentioned, we had a lease on that old pool that was half indoor, half outdoor. That was, we thought, we had a lease that the catch was, if anything went wrong, we had to fix it for them. So
Before that agreement went into effect, we were faced with about $500,000 worth of repairs.
to fix their pool.
Yeah.
You know, so we all thought, well, wait a minute, there's got to be a better answer. Luckily, at that time, the folks that owned Glacier came around to the idea that this was kind of an eyesore and it was falling apart and nobody wants to spend money to fix. That's a money pit. And so luckily they tore all that down and put in what you see now. And I think we have very reasonable rates to have either social access or even golf memberships. You know, you price them around the area.
We get preferred rates.
Yeah.
They sell silver and bronze memberships, which is what we have. Silver being the full, bronze being the social. They sell the same membership that we have to people who live in the area.
Yeah.
We get very, very preferred rates over that.
And of course, if you, just curiosity, if you were to buy one of the memberships behind the gate, that's a different world.
Platinum and gold membership.
Is there any significance to platinum and gold and or silver and bronze?
The size of the check.
It's like Olympic medals.
There you go.
It's
It's a hierarchy here.
here, here, and here.
But anyway, in spite of being silver and bronze, we're really happy to have the opportunity to play golf again and to take advantage of the fitness center pool, et cetera.
Yeah, and I would also submit to you that since that happened, our property values have gone through. Now, you guys obviously bought probably on the higher end since you bought recently. But that agreement that we put in place really changed the dynamic here. And the values, the appreciation we've seen here has been great, and it's just created a completely different environment than what we had before. So
When did Glacier come into existence?
2002.
That's when that company bought
Bought the
the
land,
whole,
right? And
yeah.
They put the golf course in, they put the home sites in. all this.
Right, and of course, that was just,
Before that,
golf course started.
before that, the original developer of this,
Had the golf course.
it was the whole thing. So, but we Tamaron never owned the golf course. That was owned by the original developer. And he sold to.
and Wadsworth bought a lot of land back there, but never developed it, correct, Joe?
Yeah, about 400 acres.
So when,
400 of that 700 or 800 acres was back there and was undeveloped.
and Glacier was really a land development company, to be honest. That's why they didn't want to run a convention center.
Here,
Yeah, one thing to expound on what John said, and this is going to come up. I hate to think about it, about 4 months from now, we have 4 individual islands. That is all surrounded by Glacier Club. Which means Glacier Club or Tamaron Metropolitan District or whoever it is, owns the roads. We do not own the roads. That isn't a big deal until wintertime. We do not maintain the roads. From the entrance to the parking lot through the entire parking lot, that's what we manage. If the roads get bad, we call Glacier, try to get them to come out, but sometimes we're successful, sometimes less so. But that's gonna be a Glacier Club thing.
in relations with Glacier and Tamaron right now are pretty good. And,
Haven't always been.
yeah, it hasn't always been that way. We just it's really over the past 10 years. Had some big water contract negotiations. And Scott, Greg. Did a lot of work with that, and we negotiated a really good water contract. We have about the cheapest water through the valley down to town.
We used to pay probably about 8 times more for water.
Well, I mean,
A lot.
when you factor in inflation, it's not quite near that much. But yeah.
So, yeah, just maybe to share, we used to buy from Glacier our internet access, our cable TV, and our water. We still buy the water today. We've since negotiated out of the Glacier contracts. Quite honestly, because they were bad. They weren't a cable company. We had horrible service. The internet was terrible. And the water service, for those of you who may not be aware, there's a water treatment plant back there that they control. So they provide water, not just to us, to Glacier, but to Rockwood and some of the surrounding communities. And we had to renegotiate all of that.
You need to get in touch.
So I think we started in 2013 and finished.
Yeah.
21. Yeah, is that right? Yeah.
And everything is, every drop of water now is metered, so to speak.
Yeah.
Prior, it was somebody's best guess. So now, yeah, seriously. And now your individual units are not metered, but every building is metered. Because we felt we were paying for water that was escaping through an obsolete or an archaic system of cast iron pipes. So we now only pay for the water that is in fact delivered to us. And we have, I think, a very favorable.
It's favorable.
Yeah.
I mean.
We've got to keep that quiet.
How long has it been? Is that a 30 year?
It's a,
Well, it's the contract is an extended contract, but they have the ability to do rate increases every year, just like any other utility does. So it's not, so our rates are not locked in.
But what I was suggesting.
You
was
wanna suggest, you wanna mention the advisory committee and how they
Well,
play into
I'll
this?
let you do that because you know more than I do, but let's say, for instance, Rockwood is also a customer for them. And
They have a different contract.
different contract. We think ours is better. So like I said, we kind of,
We don't think ours is better. We know it's not. And the guys back there that have different contracts, they also know ours is better.
okay, so
They
the
do.
the answer is, we don't talk about it. Go ahead and tell them about the committee to you.
Yeah, I mean, we have each of the communities that buys water from Elbert Creek Water Company. Glacier actually formed a new company to manage the water plants and the pipelines and all that infrastructure. And so we pay our water bills to Elbert Creek Water Company, which is essentially Glacier. It's owned by. And when we negotiated this water deal a couple of years ago, one of the things we insisted on was having an advisory committee. And so each of the communities, us, Rockwood Estates, Rockwood Village, the 3 states, big homes you see all along through here, all of us, each of us, and the Glacier community also have a representative on that committee that will effectively act as a watchdog and make sure that if they present a rate increase to us, that's scrutinized and we'll make sure we're continuing to get a good deal. Yeah, and who's our representative
Paul
now?
Brown.
Paul Brown,
Yeah.
and his background is,
Well,
He's,
Dr.
he's
Brown,
Mr. Water from the state of Arizona.
Dr. Brown is a Pinecone resident and he is recently retired from the extension service from the University of Arizona. But for honest to goodness, for like 30 years, Paul was Arizona's water man. So I know it's a different state, but I mean, he's forgotten more about the West Slope watershed than any of us have ever known. So we're very well represented by him. We're extremely knowledgeable and prepared, a professionally prepared person.
so we're well represented.
And the person that initially
I was gonna
held that
mention that,
position, well, his name was Jerry Q2.
Dr. Q2.
And
Yeah,
he was an astrophysicist. He was a rocket scientist. And he was very, very detail oriented, as you'll see Mark is in the future. But Jerry, nuclear physicist, okay. But Jerry dug and found things that nobody else ever did. Told them stuff that they didn't even know about their documents, their processes, everything. And that was why we got such a favorable deal. Because we were telling them what was going on. And so it really is, we feel like we're substantially less than all these other areas around. And so that's why we don't talk about our water contract.
It's also why you'll find we're hypersensitive about how people use water around here.
Yeah.
I mean, water's still not cheap. We still have, I mean, water, you'll see tomorrow when the annual meeting, when we show a pie chart of where your money goes. You know, the biggest chunk of it goes to utilities, and water and sewer is part of that.
You guys have any questions?
We had one person come in, who didn't get to introduce herself.
I'm Jennifer Gabriel and I purchased 212 in.
Where are you from?
Long story, so, but I have primary down in Mexico. In my secondary.
Well, welcome. Sorry to put you on the spot. I just wanted to.
In this part of the Mexico.
Who currently owns Glacier? Is it a company?
It's Rick and Andrea Carlton.
If you remember the Gateway Computer Company. She's the daughter of the owner.
He married that one.
Rick married
Yeah.
well. And that this This is his pet project, is Glacier.
But I think it's important to understand that the whole point like, somebody, these folks know more than I do, but I believe the whole point was for them to develop that into a self-sustaining property that is now would be owned would be owned and operated by
The members.
the members.
Yep, that process, which is long past when they originally viewed it to be.
Yeah.
They thought they were gonna be out of here. The Carltons were gonna be out of here in 5 years. That was in 2002.
Do you remember
Things
two thousand eight?
Yeah. Things happen.
And that 2008 happened to them and that extended their ownership by a decade.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So but the idea is that eventually the private ownership by that couple that will end and they will turn this over to the members.
and that process is now activated. And there's a timeline, and I believe now the turnover is 25, 26 is the scheduled or expected date of the turnover to the members. It's a private equity club back there. We're not part of that. Our memberships are not part of that private equity club. But the members back in the back, the gold and platinum members, they will eventually become the owners of the club. Owners and
And-
owners.
You can join that for 100,000 and 1,000 a month.
Is the expectation that
Yeah.
change the relationship is currently positive?
Our contract will still be in place.
Yeah, our contract is ironclad. Yeah, they're,
The relationship might change, but as Rick pointed out, we're a pretty good income.
Yeah.
I mean, we never understood why they didn't do this a lot earlier because we were sitting here with 300 potential memberships that,
nothing to do.
I mean, it was a no brainer for me, but
Rick mentioned that we send about $1.4 million that way every year. And 75% of that, 60 to 75% of that is directly related to club memberships. So that's a revenue stream those members aren't gonna want to keep up.
we think.
And like I said, relations right now are pretty good and both sides are trying to improve the relationship. I talked to the general manager one day last week and he said, he mentioned me, whatever we can do to help you guys out, just let me know. So theirs is committed to it as we are. So we don't foresee any problems.
It's a private golf course though, right? The public's.
There is no public play on that golf course.
On the back.
On the
The back
mountain
course,
course.
public can play the front course. One that runs along the freeway here, the public can play that.
All the public.
Yeah.
And that's where we have, our memberships are just tied to that. The back course is.
Just 30
Private,
holes.
it's members and guests only.
Yeah.
Scott, I think they changed that.
Well, it's not.
I don't think you can walk in off the street.
No.
Yeah, you
but-
can't walk in off
Oh,
the
they did
street.
change it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have to be, you have to be,
be a guest
you have to
or
be a rental.
or a
guest here.
rental guest of the property.
Yeah.
Okay. And what we have required is any unit that is a rental unit, we have required that owner to purchase at least a social membership.
We don't require that.
We don't.
No.
Oh,
No, because when
Heather
people,
did.
VRC
Okay,
requires. it.
VRC.
Yeah.
Okay,
So owners who have a unit that want to rent it out, that are going through VRBO or Vacasa,
don't have to.
they don't have.
Okay.
And a couple don't. It doesn't make the renters very happy though when they
Yeah.
get here.
Yeah, I mean, it's really to your detriment if you're a owner renting your unit not to have.
It's hard enough to explain our situation with Glacier to the owners. You bring a renter in from outside and they see a gorgeous golf course, pools and amenity center.
They
You
can't,
tell them you
they can't
go
use
in.
any of it. Yeah.
well, I thought renters. They pay a $30 or 27.
That's
daily
part of
fee
the,
to
that's part of
Glacier
that.
Yeah.
And to use the pool and fitness center.
Right.
So any renter on record has, through that fee, has access to the pool and fitness center. I'm not sure about golf access.
Yeah.
However, a guest, if you have a guest, you let your, next door neighbor come and use your unit, they will not have any access
No,
if
they have
you
to-
don't have
They can get access with guest fees.
a daily fee. That's
They can
right.
they can pay daily fees. Right.
Well, you guys wanna know?
Yeah.
How many holes? There's 18 in the back and
18,
18 in front, so 36 total.
I wanted to ask about the snow removal, cause I actually knew the guy who was contracted to come out when Glacier dropped the ball on the snow last year. You gonna told me about that situation. What is the expectation moving forward? As I know, are they readjusting their stance? Are we gonna have plows or on their end, do we not know, or kind of just figuring that out as the season gets closer?
Are you talking about our
No,
snow removal or glaciers?
glaciers, like the main road. Yeah, I just wasn't sure if it was on anybody's radar.
I would assume that it's like everything else around here is a function of being able to get staffing.
Okay.
It's not because they just don't do it.
Yeah,
At one point this year, about a month or month and a half ago, the golf course maintenance had 8 people on a plant staffing of 31. And they advertise positions for $22 an hour and do not even get responses.
yeah.
So it's a lot of where there's some drop off and you'll see that in the restaurants. Both here and over there. It's not because people don't want to do a good job, they just they can't get it to people. And that's why Mine Shaft is closed Mondays and Tuesdays,
Yeah.
because of staffing.
And it's also been closed on other days when
Yeah, when
people haven't come in.
yeah, people
Yeah.
just don't show up.
yesterday. We had 4 people. Apparently.
But back to snow removal, and thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, thank you for reminding us of what a terrible winter we had. No, I mean, anybody who loves being here has got to love snow.
Yeah.
But there's a limit to how much you love snow. I mean, and it was the biggest snow year in what, 30?
30 years.
30, biggest snow
60.
year.
At least 30.
100.
I've been here over 32 years.
Yeah.
And it's the worst it's the heaviest snows I've ever seen.
Right, and that's good.
We took possession of life back at snow.
Well, and again.
Well, how bad could that
What did
be?
you get ourselves into?
Who's gonna argue against snow on the mountains? Yeah. Recreation, water supply, general, just environmental health, etc. But it killed us last winter. We had our budget could not anticipate. We were slammed, literally.
So just to clarify, so Taco takes care of like the Tampa parking lot and Metro Bay, High Point, Gamble, and Pine Cove. So those
And the lodge.
areas, and then Glacier just does the roads.
That's correct.
That's right.
Gotcha.
And Paige, our general manager, is in the process of drafting and getting finalized a snow removal policy. Because, last year's record snow made it a very hot topic. And so that's being looked at pretty closely right now.
Yes. Gary.
More mundane stuff. I think everybody probably knows, but it bears repeating. Our TV, phone and internet, those all get billed on your quarterly statement. Each one of those is one big account. Individual owners cannot get different things or turn off their service when they're not here, turn it back on when they are here. Those are all called out separately on your quarterly statements. There's a reason for that. I won't go into it right now. But when we have an interruption in service, which apparently we did in Pinecone.
Yes.
We did last night.
That's nice.
Yeah.
My point,
I
my
heard-
point as well.
Was it property, what was it, property wide? It was
Cause I was
property
sitting
wide?
down at the Prospector deal.
It was
Okay.
around, it was around 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Exactly.
All right, when that happens. We don't have any control over that. That's not to shirk responsibility or anything. But that is Ting Internet. Same with the phones. We get our phone service through Ting Internet. Television service we get through Group Entertainment. They're based in Salt Lake City. It's a direct TV account. But we don't have any control over that. We have a little bit more control with television because if there's an equipment problem, we may be able to fix that. But by and large, all of those things are the responsibility of those particular companies. So if we have an outage, if the internet is out, watch television and vice versa. You can call the front desk or you can call me during the day, you can call me and I'll try to get a hold of things. But if you are having individual problems with, say, your internet, the phone number for Ting is where?
On the website.
On the website. If you go to the telecom information page of the website, you'll see all kinds of information there and phone numbers to call if you're having an interruption in service and you think it's just your own. So that's just another plug for the website because there's a whole lot of stuff on there that if you haven't read it, take your time and read some of that stuff.
Are the units, are they wired or is it all wireless?
The units are all wired, if you're talking about internet.
Right.
They're all wired to what's called a wireless access point, and that's a box that's about this big. In the lodge here, when you enter a unit, it's on the wall right above the door. In the other units in the outlying areas, it's in various places. And that is your wireless access point, and every unit has two networks. Tamron Public, that's everywhere, and then a private unit 832. That the occupant or the owner calls Ting and says, this is what I want the password to be on my private network. So you have to set that up on your own. We do not keep records of passwords or anything like that.
So it's all wireless.
It's all wireless. Now, in the outlying areas, and this is unfortunate that you can do it in the lodge, it's just logistically more difficult. You've got a wireless access point that's mounted on a wall somewhere. There are two Ethernet ports on the bottom of it. You can wire from a computer with an Ethernet cord into the right-hand port, not the left-hand port, the right-hand port. I've got my desktop that's wired into that. I get 1,000 megabytes per second. You get really, really fast service. You should get anywhere from 50 to 200 megabytes per second wirelessly. But if you wire in, you will get extremely fast service.
Yeah, it's probably also important to notice there is no other service here. There's no fiber that runs up the freeway. The only thing we have is fiber that goes to Glacier. We actually pay Glacier $5 a month per unit, $5 a month per unit. And their fiber comes up to you. We both have the same provider.
What we're paying to clarify, what we're paying the $5 a month for is for the fact that the fiber connections between our 4 complexes. You know,
Yeah, they run their easements.
they runs through their easements.
Right, yeah.
And so in order to get our deal with Cedar Networks, which is now Ting, we had to agree to send $5 a month per household. It's rental for those conduits.
Another thing that some people had a problem with, I know I have. A lot of times your wireless printer won't work. So just get a printer cord plugged
Use
in.
USB. Trust, just get a USB cable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hit or miss. Some do, some don't.
And another thing on that, if you want to entertain having a Wi-Fi thermostat, some work, some don't. The one that I know that works is Google Nest. They're a little more expensive than everybody else, but they work great. That's a thermostat. A wireless Wi-Fi thermostat, so you can control it from your phone. Okay. So in the wintertime, when you want to come up here, Warm up my unit for me.
If you have a thermostat, they don't work on heat.
No, we have a thermostat. So, yeah, I guess that doesn't count for the lodge,
No, it
just
doesn't.
for the outlying suites.
So if you're gone in the winter time, you have a lodge, what should you be setting? Those units at, what's
About,
Some of them, well, if you're gonna be gone for a while, some of them go down to 58, some of them only go down to 60, these P-tax.
Yeah.
Like either one is fine.
but it's not recommended to turn them off.
No,
No,
no, no, no.
No,
No.
don't
Please
turn them
do
off.
not turn them off.
Okay.
We'll come in and turn them back
We
on.
will.
Turn it
they'll
off.
charge you for it.
Yes,
You-
So
please do not turn them off.
You say about 6.
If you,
That's
60 is
60,
fine.
55, yeah.
if you do turn it off, the iWork system, which
Yes.
monitors temperature, will notify the office that happened, if there's a low temp,
Well, I'm not,
and somebody will go in and turn it back on.
Yeah.
I just want to know what.
We
should set
we have
up.
two
Yeah.
people that have come in since we started. In the very back,
Okay, in the very back, Eric Tibbetts. He's a
He's not.
former longtime board member and longtime resident. Just about as long as Joe. And then John Miller.
Mills.
Mills.
Mills, I'm sorry. And John, you're a new owner this year also. aren't you?
No.
3 years.
Okay.
what are your units, guys?
What's that?
What units?
202.
And Eric's in 860 in Pinecone. And John is helping us with some of our financial investments
I'll go over that.
for the,
I'll go
yeah,
over that in the board
Joe will
meeting
be covering that at the board meeting tomorrow,
today.
today. In the owners meeting tomorrow. So
Can I say one thing before we dismiss?
you certainly may.
You'll receive a lot of emails and correspondence from Gary. Please do not, or please read those. It's, if we're sending it out, it's important, for what's going on here on at property. So, most, all correspondence, will come from Gary. So please be, looking out for those or just read them because it is important. Or it's funny. So.
If you're from Texas, you can ignore them.
Yeah.
Harry, you've always told me it's the people from Texas that especially need to read them.
I wasn't gonna say that, Joe. I was trying to be nice.
Gary has a particular affinity for Texas.
Talk funny, but we spend that money. That's good, I like that.
And for the record, we represent a quorum on the board, so just like we can secede, we can raise hell here.
Rick, I just want to say, we hope you will stay for the board meeting.
Yep.
You know, I'm not gonna guarantee you will be entertained. Hopefully you can, won't be entertaining, I get you. You know, there's a lot of perfunctory stuff that goes on, but I think it's great that owners come to board meetings. The more owners at board meetings, really the better. And also, I hope you're all aware that there is an owner's reception this evening, and hope you'll come to that too.
It's always a good time. We provide a couple drink tickets and then we'll have
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock and.
6 o'clock in
6
Cliffside.
o'clock in Cliffside.
I mean, it's like heavy hors d'oeuvres. It's,
Oh, yeah.
it's dinner. So,
Yes.
Because it came out of.
That will be fun. The board meeting won't be fun, but tonight it'll be fun.
At the deduction. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
By year end.
If you do think of anything, you can always get with Gary or Paige or right
Us.
now contact a board member. And we'll be
Gary-
happy to give you an answer. If we don't have it, we'll get you one.
Gary and I are always available, Elisa as well, in the business office downstairs. So please feel free to stop by, ask questions, give us a call, email.
and that's right behind the front desk.
So I guess with that, we'll go ahead and break and get drinks, go to the restroom and be ready for the board meeting in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I have another question. Go ahead.